Right, welcome back to another web development video where I show you how to make modern websites using HTML5, CSS3, and a little bit of JavaScript. I'm going to do something, I've been thinking a lot about what to do and what is the most helpful to the community, what is the most helpful to people who are starting out or who are new, what can I share, having been doing web development now for a few years. What sorts of things do you need to know if you're going to get into this, and what sort of skills do you need to have to be able to build modern websites? And one of the skills that I think that you should have is the ability to write a form, not just on the front end, but also to be able to do a form on the back end. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an HTML form, just something sort of basic. And then we're also going to write the PHP script in order to handle that form. Now this requires that you're using a web server to send the form. So just your normal shared web server with PHP installed would be able to send this form. If you're using a cloud-based server, you'd have to use like an SMTP plugin or some sort of cloud-based server to send your email. That's a little bit more advanced, and that's something I'm just coming into the realization about because we're doing that at work. But I've been writing PHP forms for a few years and using those to be sent over the web through our own web server. So I'm going to show you how to do that because that's pretty common if you're working for clients and or you're working for a company that is sending email through a web server using PHP. This would be super helpful. And we'll write just a sort of a basic mail script and get it sent off to an email. So that should be interesting and fun and exciting. So let's start with the form first. So I have my basic setup here. This is a build system that I have that uses Pug and Sass and auto like browser sync. So when I save over here, it shows up over here. So hopefully this is large enough for you to see. And we're just going to get into this. And so the only thing I've done here really is inside the body. I have this wrapper called app, and then app is keeping my form from going outside of 600 pixels. So when I save it, you can see this is how wide the form is. I just wanted to make sure that our form wasn't going all over the place. But you'll have to sort of style your form how you need to do it. So we come down and we set a form element, and we're just going to call this we'll call it basic form. And then our method is going to be to post, and then our action is going to be something. We'll send it to, let's say, mail.php. That's what we'll call it. And then so that's our form, like the outside wrapper of the form element. So inside of that, we're going to have a form group. So I like to sort of put the inputs and things into groups. We're going to have a label, and we're going to have an input. And so the label here is going to be, let's say, name. And then the input is going to be a type. And the type is going to be text. And the name is going to be equal to name. Now, it's important that you name your inputs because when all of this form information gets kicked over to the mail.php, then we're going to need to hook up to this name variable. You can also give this an ID if you want, or a class. I'm not really going to worry about styling the form today. I'm just going to worry more about the functionality of the form. So let's have another form group, and this one's going to be email. and this is going to be the type of email, and again the name is going to be email, and then the last one will be called message, and the input here is not, it's a text area, and so that doesn't have a type, but we can give it a name. We can specify how many rows, let's say like 7 rows. That should be okay. And then we save, we should get our form here. So we have our basic form. And we need one more. We need something to submit the form with, right? So we're going to come down and we're going to say form submit, and that's going to be the input with the type of submit. The value is going to be equal to submit, and we'll just give it the name of submit. Okay, so now we have our submit button. We do need to do a little bit of basic styling here, I guess. So I'm just going to create a new SAS file, and we can go in and do a little bit of styling to this. So I got to add it down here too. Don't need those. And I'm going to say add import form. And so let's say form background is going to be just to make sure that we have it all linked together. So everything is working fine. So we don't need that anymore. And what we need to do is I want to put these labels on top of the inputs, and so we're going to say label. Actually, it's called, what is it? Basic form, and the label is going to be a display block. And then we can also add a little margin to the bottom of it. So the margin bottom, I find 0.3 to 0.5 just seems like a good amount. Actually, we can just do the margin right on the top and bottom, and then left and right nothing, so that separates them out a little bit. Can make the top a little bit more. Okay, so we got them nice and separated. Our basic form inputs, we're going to say a width of 100%, which should be fine. Actually, we could do something, yeah, that'll be fine. And we're going to say padding of 1 rem, and so that gives us a little bit of padding on the inside of the form. Let's go ahead and make this 2, and just to separate them out a little bit. The text area, we can actually add the text area here so that it also takes up 100% and has a little bit of padding, the same padding on the inside, so you can see. And then what else do we have? We have our form submit here. So we're going to say form submit. We'll just put the margin top to like 2 rem, just to space it out. Oh, I misspelled margin. There we go. Just to give it a little bit of space here. And then I'm not going to worry about styling the submit button. It's fine. I just wanted something usable, so we can type, our name here. and then some message goes here. And right now when we submit, it's telling us that it's trying to push this over to mail.php. It's trying to post it there, but it can't do anything because mail.php does not exist. So that's something that we are going to have to create. But this is going to be our basic form. So we're going to email this information to ourselves, to me actually. And this is really all the styles that we need, I think, for this form. And the rest of this is going to be kicked over to mail.php. Now let's just create a new file in the root next to the index, and it'll be called mail.php. And because this is a PHP file, it accepts PHP. So the way that, if you're not familiar, the way you start with PHP is you say less than, and then question mark, and then PHP, and then we end it with question mark PHP. So everything that goes in between these is going to be, you can write PHP code inside of this, and the server will accept it, especially if the server has PHP installed. Now I'm going to write this, and we're going to have to maybe pause the video while I upload it, but I'm going to have to upload it to my server to make this PHP file work on the web. So first thing that we need to do is we need to set variables. So we need to capture all of the information from our inputs over here, and we can set them up this way. So in PHP you start with a $, and then whatever your variable name is. So first one is going to be called name, and the second one is going to be called email, sorry, and the third one is going to be called message. Okay, so we set our variables, and those are just going to be sort of equal to nothing. Oh, sorry, don't use the single quotes, use the double quotes for PHP. Okay, so those are just going to be sort of equal to nothing, and we can just access those now from our form. So there are a couple different ways that we can receive this. So the information is going to be coming straight into our mail.php, and one way that we can write this is with an if statement that allows us to check to make sure that it was the information is coming to us with the method of post. And the way that we do this is a $ and underscore, and it's called server underscore method. I'm sorry, it's server, and then brackets, and then request method. So if the request method is equal to post, then we're going to run all this stuff inside here. Okay, so if the server gets a request method of post, which is what we're doing with our form when we say that the method is post, that's right on our form here. So the method is post. So if the method is post, then do whatever's inside of here. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our variables to equal whatever the information that's posted per the name. So whatever is in this input with the name of name, we're going to save into a variable. So we're going to say name is going to be equal to, and then the way that we get that information is we're going to say $ underscore post, and then brackets, and then inside the brackets we're going to type name. So when the information comes in, whatever information is posted with the name input is going to be saved in this name variable, and so we're just going to do that down the line. I'm going to actually copy that just to make it easy. And so this one is going to be called email. And then this one's going to be called message. Alright, so now we have our variables stored, and they're coming in from our form, and we're going to be saving them here. We can go through and add we can add some errors and things like that. This is just going to be super basic right now, but there are ways for you to do validation and for you to do checking of your inputs. I'm not going to worry about that too much right now, so let's just do it this way. So we come out of our if statement. So as long as the method is post, we're going to take whatever the value is here, here, and here, and we're going to put them into these three variables. And then we come down and we need to actually write our we need to create our form content. So we're going to have that by saying we're just going to use form content, and that's going to be equal to a string. And the first thing we're going to say, so this is all the content that's going to be inside of our email that we email to the person who's receiving the notification. So we're going to say from, and then we're going to just put the name. And then when you do /n, that puts everything down on a new line. And then we're going to say email is the email. Again, make a new line, and then the last one is going to be our message. And actually I want the message to sit on a new line as well. So what's going to happen is you're going to get like from, and then out to the right it's going to have the name, and then you're going to get email, and out to the right it's going to have the email. And then for the message it's going to look like this. So it's going to say message, and then another line break, and then it'll show your message underneath that. So let's move on to the next part that we need. Let's put a semicolon. Next part that we need is the email recipient. So who is receiving the email? We'll just call it recipient. And I'm going to send that to myself. And we'll set our semicolon. And next is going to be the email header info. And so this is stuff that the email client is going to be reading. So the first one is going to be the subject, and the subject is going to be equal to my form submission. And the next thing that we need is the mail header, and the mail header is going to say from, and then we're going to just write the email in there. So new row, new line is going to create a little bit of space. And then the last part is going to be the actual, this is called the send mail function. So we're just going to send the mail. And the way that we do that is it's a function in PHP called mail. Sometimes you see it as send mail, but mail is what I've seen. And so what we want to include whenever we send the mail, so this is the function that's actually going to send the mail out, is going to be our recipient, and then the subject line, and then we're going to add the form content, and then last we'll put the mail header. So we're going to do that, or the die statement, which is the form cannot be sent, so it's going to give this error. So it's going to give this error if let's actually just say error if it can't be sent. And then when we'll just leave it at that for now. You can do a redirect here. And the way that you would do that is it's called a header function, and then you would say location, and then that's going to be equal to this could be a thank you page, it could be back to the home page, whatever you want it to be. But you're essentially just you're redirecting the user back to a different page. So otherwise it's just going to be at the top of the page, and it's going to, you know, just be nothing essentially. Alright, so here we are. Let's just review this again. We're going through, so remember everything inside this PHP call, this is all PHP that can be run. If you ever want to break out of that and you want to create HTML, you have to set this here, put your HTML, and then restart the PHP whenever you want. You sort of bracket the PHP code with this PHP markup, I guess is what you call it. So here's the we're setting our variables. We're getting the name, the email, and the message from our form. This is just to set everything up. So if the server request method is post, which is that's what it's going to be from our form is set to post, then we take whatever the value for this name input is, and we put it as a variable here. Same for email, same for our message, and we store them in these variables, and then we're going to reuse these variables down here for our form content. So we're going to say from, and then it's going to have the name variable, and then email is going to have the email, and then the message is going to put our message in there. Our recipient, this is where you can change the person that the email is going to. And this is the header information, so this is the subject of, like the subject line of the email that the person will see in their email client. The mail header will tell who it's from, who is the mail, who is this mail from, and then we run our send mail function, which attaches our recipient, which is here, attaches our subject line here, attaches our form content here, and then finally it gives us the mail header here. If that doesn't work, then it's going to throw this error that says the form can't be sent, and then after the form is successfully sent, then it's going to run this header function, which is going to send the user to a specific page. So it could be /thankyou, could be whatever it's going to be. This is just going to go to the home page of the website that I'm going to be applying this to. Okay, so we have our basic form. I don't believe this is going to work. Let's go ahead and try it. It should not work. Okay, so I cannot post to mail.php again. We are on a local installation. This is not on the web, and I don't have a web server running, so I don't have any way to do PHP right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, and then I'm going to set this up and just put the files onto my web server, and then I'll show you what it looks like as we move through, and then I'll show you the mail also. Okay, and I'm back. I've uploaded everything, and I needed to point out one change that I needed to make on the form itself. That's here in the text area. I had two names on there before, so I needed to make that change. The name here needs to be equal to message, so that when we come over to our PHP, we're able to get the message value and put it into this message variable. Also, excuse me, this had a space before, but it was causing a weird spacing issue in the email, so I just closed up those spaces here. So you need a space between from and the name and email in the name, and then just sort of close up the space here, because you don't need a space after the colon here, and if you put a space here, it'll just sort of move it over under the E, which, I'm just trying to keep a clean spacing in the email. But the rest of it works. Everything is fine. And you can see here that this is my local copy of the form, and this is the copy of the form that's on my actual website. It's on a server out on the web, and what we're going to do is we're just going to try our form. So we'll fill in the name and fill in the email. And we'll just put some message here. And when we click submit, remember that it should kick us back after it submits successfully. It should kick us over to the home page for Highway Web Consulting. Okay, so we get kicked over to the home page, and then when we come in, we check our email. You can see here that the form submission was correct. The subject line is my form submission. It's from the user email right here. You can see that our content here, so it says from and whatever the name is. The email has the message, and because we put this here in between, it kicks the message down to a bottom line. And then just like that, you have an email that's ready to be sent. You can reply back to that email. So you can use the person's email that they sent it from as the reply to email, and you can go ahead and send that email as well. So this is how to create a basic PHP form using just a front end form and then connecting it to this mail.php. Now you do need to if you're going to write the action like this, mail.php, you need to have this PHP file in the same root as this index file. So they need to be next to each other, not put inside of a folder. If you put it inside of a folder that's called PHP or mail or something like that, then you would have to write PHP, and then so you put the folder name. So whatever the destination is for this file, you would put that in there. I just have mine in the root. You don't necessarily have to. You're just pointing all this information to go to this. So wherever you put that, that's where you need to set up your file destination, your file name. Alright, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. I'm planning to do a second video which shows you a little bit more like intermediate or advanced, to show you how to set up some ways to check the data to make sure that it's legit. Is it an email address? Is it this? Is it that? So form validation is a big part of sending forms. This is a super basic form. This is not a secure form. It's just showing you the nuts and bolts of how to use PHP to send a form. So you're really going to need, if you want to use a production, if you want to use this on a production website, you'll need to know at least what's coming in the second video, and I'll post those together. I'll put a link to the second video in this video, and vice versa. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe by clicking the subscribe button. It's right under the video, and you'll get notifications whenever I make new videos, usually 1 or 2 a week at the most, and sometimes more, sometimes less. So I think that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.